Hey, grade nines, welcome to the final presentation and the final video of chapter 6. Once again, last day we looked at Canada and mixed economies. Today we're going to look a little bit more on public and private sectors. We know that mixed economies lay somewhere between the complete laissez-faire capitalism of a market economy and the strict central controls of a command economy. In practice, every economy in the world is some form of mixed economy, just depending on where on the spectrum they sit. All countries have some involvement in private enterprise or in their economies as well, but it is vastly different how much and what kind of economic theory they support. Um, Generally, however, mixed economies will have areas that are in public control, so public, closer in principle to the command economy, and others that are private or most similar to the market economy. So each will have government-run businesses or government-run services and private enterprise. So in mixed economies, there is. So first thing we'll talk about the private sector. The private sector is the area of the nation's economy that is left to the self-regulating devices of the market economy. So you have private businesses. If the government is involved in this, it is only to ensure that there's fair competition between all the competitors and that there are some sort of regulations to ensure that the Canadian public is protected. However, other than that, it is all run by the private industry. It's all run by competition and supply and demand. In Canada, many areas of the economy are within the private sector. And so, for example, a quick trip to the mall will expose us to the competition, profit motive entrepreneurs, privately owned land, labor, and capital, and the laws of supply and demand. So it's basically all those things that run the private sector. Once again, the government is very rarely involved in this, and when they are involved, it is just to make regulations and to ensure that the playing field is equal. The other side of that is the public sector, and these are areas of the nation's economy deemed too important or not profitable enough to be left to the private sector. So one of the other reasons why uh, the government gets involved is that something is important. However, private companies will not make enough money off of it. The government's whole goal is to take care of us, not to profit off of us. So governments and mixed economies will get involved in the production of some goods and services in order to guarantee essential services to all citizens, or to and try encourage private interest in the economy. So, an example of this would be services like public transportation and the postal service are examples that are deemed way too important for the private industry to run. So, uh, so they want to make sure that there is always a postal service and there is always public transportation. So the government takes control of these things. They are too important to sort of leave to the like invisible hand of the market where services can be disrupted or gotten rid of altogether. Recently, in a wave of privatizations, which means when government sells off parts of its businesses or parts of its economies, services like telephone companies, liquor stores, and registry services have all been taken from the public sector and placed in the private sector. So, for example, for a long time, and even if you go to BC, liquor stores are still run by the BC government. Where in Alberta, during the Ralph Klein when Ralph Klein was in power, he took all of Alberta government liquor stores and sold them. So now all liquor stores in Alberta are all privately owned. So that is one example of how that is one example. So those are the two differences. That is the final PowerPoint of chapter 6. So I hope you have watched all of them and they've answered many of your questions. But if not, please feel free to ask and have a good day. And we'll look next week when we start talking about chapter 8.